So Christy and I shared an office our first job out of college.
And during that time, we started talking about whether or not one day we would start our own company.
We had no idea what that would look like, but we knew that we'd be great partners.
I can remember the 6 of us meeting in a tiny Beacon Hill apartment, all sitting around a futon.
We all wanted to make a change in the world, and we didn't know what that would all look like, and we didn't know what it would take.
It was really a group of people where sports had had a huge impact on all of our lives.
And we couldn't accept the fact that kids were essentially getting priced out of participation in sport. 6 of us hashing out what it could look like and figuring out that by giving kids the gift of sport in equipment, we could create a lot of access that didn't exist before.
We didn't have strong networks, and we didn't have connections in the sports industry. All of those things were brand new to us. We had all these manufacturers based in Massachusetts, and we felt like it was worth a shot to go after them to see if maybe they could participate. I called Dan Toohey and just left him a message about what we were trying to accomplish.
And she just gave very thumbnail information about the concept of good sports. And it sounded intriguing. I invited them in for an in-person meeting.
We arrived there with a PowerPoint deck in our hands, and we sat down and explained to Dan what we were trying to accomplish and why.
I remember that first meeting being very impressed with both Christy and Melissa. And I remember thinking they really got it.
Following that meeting, Dan gave us a call and let us know that he was willing to make our first equipment donation ever. And so he donated 500 brand new Spalding basketballs to Good Sports. The next week, we rented a U-Haul and we headed up to the Springfield area. But back then, we were in the infancy of the operations of the business, and we didn't have anywhere to store them. So it was really about being creative and stuffing them in our small apartments in Boston and in our trunks and calling in favors from friends.
So when I joined in 2006, when we had to actually donate equipment, what I would do is pack it up in the warehouse. I would bring it to my car, roll down the back seats, stuff as much as I could in there, and then I would drive to the Staples down the street, which had a UPS kiosk.
And we started having some early conversations with program leaders in the Boston area. We started putting the bones of our application in place. And one of the earliest folks that we met was Greg Davis. He was running a basketball program that was really under-resourced, and he was so dedicated to making sure that the kids had access to sport.
The majority of the young people that I started working with were young people in public housing. I felt like I wanted them to be exposed to what it's like to live in the city and not to be held hostage by the barriers because they were poor. The majority of it is that these were very needy young kids. And so everything that I did with these young people, I did it for free. After about 50 different calls and everyone said, well, no, we already support this group, we support that group, this and that. I saw something about Good Sports and I said, let me try this. And I called and Melissa answered the phone.
And you could hear the passion that Greg had for the kids in the community every time you spoke to him. So he was an easy yes to make, right? Because you could just sense how much he wanted to do for the kids.
She told me to do a wish list. And I was like, a wish list? Are you sure?
We gave him a portion of those first basketballs, and as well as very quickly thereafter, uniforms for his program.
The faces that these young kids made when they got their jerseys and they got their sneakers, I didn't know that something would have been ongoing for over 20 years.
Good Sports is in a place that I don't think we ever could have anticipated when we picked up those first basketballs in the U-Haul.
And today we have 36,000 square feet. We've got a combined office and warehouse.
I think sports is a mechanism to create friendships, sportsmanships, attitudes.
The smiles on kids' faces, and you know it was the best day that they've had in a long time.
But I also see sports as a microcosm of life. You learn how to be a teammate. You learn that hard work does pay off.
It doesn't matter what the outcome is as long as you competed.
Sports is an important part of kids growing up, to be a part of a team, to be a part of a group.
I think that Good Sports is one that they have help no matter what. Who they look like, where they come from. You help folks find the gold in areas that people believe it never existed.
My vision for the future of Good Sports is that we continue to learn and grow based on the experience that we've had the last 20 years, that we get better at doing what we're doing and we go deeper.
There are millions of kids still in this country who need our help, and we're not done yet.
I believe
play is for all.